What's up, guys? Welcome to the Degen Dads podcast. I'm joined by my host today, Kyle Wilson. How's it going today, Kyle?
It's going great, man. Happy to be here. Happy to be alive and touching grass from time to time.
Heck yeah, man. Heck yeah. We have a huge topic list today, which I actually just placed over here. Let me pull it up on the screen. Our biggest topic, as you noticed by the title of this video, is Veve and Alibaba Partnership. There's going to be a lot of discussion around this. We're about to dive right into it, but we also have some really fun stuff to talk about, like Fat Zuki. I don't know if you heard about that. Some interesting news like Sega leaving Web3, claiming it's boring, IMX passports, all kinds of things in our discussion lined up today. But without further ado, I guess we'll just dive into the straight to the first topic, Kyle. Veve and Alibaba. What's your opinion? Well, first off, tell us what's going on for those that might not know.
Yeah, so for people that don't know already, Veve has announced that they are basically going to use Alibaba Cloud, which is their cloud service, which is similar to what Amazon Web Services has, except it's not as probably as mature or as large as obviously Amazon Web Services, but it just kind of goes to show what Vive's kind of strategy is in terms of trying to appeal to the Chinese market, for example.
Yeah, heck yeah. And I read a thread analysis on this that was on Reddit, the Veve subreddit, which I don't love, but and it's saying that overall China it's better to use Alibaba Cloud than in North America. So I guess like you said, we just saw localization like maybe a month ago to where they added different languages for it, and now we're seeing like the official partnership with Alibaba. So that's that probably ties together on trying to diversify the audience for Veve.
Yeah, I think so too. Obviously, when you're in proximity of the servers in that region, then it's going to be your app's going to run more efficiently. So that's obviously could be a strategy there that they are laying kind of that groundwork to really target that market. So, which isn't a surprise. Veve has actually had a office in Shanghai, I believe it is, already for several years. If they actually have that office that has been on I think it was the Ecomi Secure Wallet. It's been on their site for years. So, it's no surprise that they're, actually finally now trying to roll something out in that general area after, a couple years.
Ecomi Secure Wallet, man, that's a sore subject.
Yeah, I don't know. Have they updated that at all? Like, I haven't heard any updates on that. Or is it like a kind of an abandoned project?
Yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know. That was one of my arguments towards people saying that Veve did not want to be a Web3 company because like they literally had a hardware wallet, which is about as Web3 as it gets. Digital ownership,
That's self custody.
Yeah,
Well, I
self
think that
custody. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that points to like at one point we were supposed to have self custody to the Yukomi secure wallets, and in the white paper it discloses that information and how that would actually work. So I think a lot of people were reading that white paper and looking at that as hey, we can self custody our NFTs, and I think that's why people were so confused. Fast forward a couple years later, so that's a good interesting point for sure.
Yeah, that's something I definitely thought about. One thing about this Alibaba partnership, or like obviously the David, you taking a picture with them. I don't know if you're familiar, but Alibaba is like one of the biggest VCs in the world. I don't know if this is too far to speculate, but if there is some type of long-term partnership, maybe even if Veve needs funding, that's a really good connection to have if they're willing to invest into the wider like Web3 space.
Yeah, and I see Amazon and Alibaba, they're both starting to really support Web3 and blockchain in general. Amazon's kind of beating them to the punch a little bit, but that's really not a surprise. Just because they're just like they've been around longer and all that stuff, and have a dominant share in cloud services. But Alibaba, recently it looks like they've been signing a lot of Web3 specific projects. So it's exciting to see the general technology just be adopted, especially by the infrastructure tech space in general, like obviously cloud services. So if you're excited about Web3, this is kind of, to me, a good indication on the back end, seeing the infrastructure still bullish on the Web3 space. To me, that's exciting.
You say Amazon beat them to the punch, but it's like Amazon beat them to the punch with announcements because I haven't really seen much on it, man. Like Amazon was supposed to drop their NFT Marketplace in like March, and I haven't seen any updates on it. like recently, you know?
Yeah, just I meant when I say that, just in terms of blockchain and them supporting, Avalanche spinning up subnets and things like that. So, yeah, like you said, we haven't seen anything in terms of the fruit of their what was supposed to be their NFT marketplace, and as we suspect, long term, a full out, Web3 game possibly in the not so distant future, just because they own Twitch, and that's like a perfect marketing arm for their gaming business. They have a gaming studio. They're supporting Avalanche subnets, which they are. I think that one of the primary use cases we'll see coming out of Avalanche subnets is going to be gaming and games
Mm,
using those subnets to support and facilitate the Web3 aspect of their games.
yeah, no, for sure. And to sum up, I'm gonna read this the last little bit of this Reddit thread. That was really good. It says there has to be a lot more in this partnership, which is what I said about the VCs. It's exciting because David's caption is literally looking forward to new partnerships and access into the wider Asia community. Also, it's a partnership with the biggest e-commerce company in the most populous country, so the potential is pretty huge.
Yeah, so my take on that is what his words. I don't necessarily. I agree with Danny DeBull, who actually did a great video. It was very objective and kind of neutral in the middle. And what my take on it as well is similar to that is I don't necessarily like that Instagram announcement because it's kind of indicating like there could be something much larger. But to me, this is Vivi kind of communicating, hey, we're open for business in the Chinese market, and it's not so much a much bigger, broader, announcement. So it's kind of like hyping things up, which is fine, in terms of what a CEO's job kind of is. You look at other CEOs. So not to say that that's like entirely bad or anything, but in terms of interpreting it in the NFT space, like some people could buy in, or spend a lot more money on things based on expectations and things like that. So in terms of that, when they take pictures with Alibaba Cloud, like a lot of people were commenting, hey, is this normal? Well, you can actually go and search Alibaba Cloud signing service or signing collaboration or partnership. You can just Google a couple of different terms like Alibaba Cloud Partnership and just click on the image tab, and it'll actually show you all the different partners that have taken pictures and done the exact
Mm,
same thing. So it's kind of like a low end type of marketing photo op. It's a photo opportunity to really market your product and your service, which is not bad at all. Like
yeah.
it's a photo. It costs almost nothing to take a picture and put that on the internet and do like an article and a press release about that. So definitely not bad there in terms of the marketing strategy for both Alibaba and Vivi, but it's not nothing. It's not anything new. They kind of did the same thing with Amazon Web Services when they took pictures at Amazon, and so to me, it's not any different. It just does mean that hey, we're Vivi, we're open for business in the Chinese market, and we need to actually get more information and not like overhype this announcement.
Yeah, that's a very fair assessment. I think it's a very good, like, neutral stance. Anything else you would like to say about the partnership before we move on?
No, I mean that's pretty much it in a nutshell. I know people are super excited about the localization part, but that's a strategy I would like to see more concrete evidence of. Brands, specifically in China and more adoption there. More integrations with other, I guess within China itself. So that's what I would like to see instead of just kind of like the actual just photo.
Mm,
Just because in previous, my experience with the project has always been, either delays and things like that. So I'd like to see a little bit more there.
like a Pokemon partnership. They're based out of China. So,
Yeah, I mean, when I see Pokemon, I think they're looking at the space, like Sega, and we're gonna get to Sega after this topic, of course, as well. But yeah, I think companies are just looking at the space very carefully and closely and cautiously now, just because they've seen what has happened in the Web3 space and
yeah.
really the bad and the ugly, like which has been a lot this past year. And I'll let you kind of talk a little bit into that as well.
Yeah, sure. And I also do want to talk about the Twitter killer, Threads, but we can get to that after the gaming discussion. So what Kyle's referring to is this announcement over the weekend for some. I mean, just again, like you said, there's been some general like distasteful things happening or that's happened in Web3. Well, Sega went out of their way and they basically said they're going to take a step back from anything Web3 related. They even went as far as to say that Web3 games are boring, and I quote from their interview with Bloomberg: "The action and the play to earn games is boring. What's the point if games are no fun?" And this quote comes directly from Sega's co-chief operating officer, Shuji Usimi. So, yeah, that's Sega's take. Now, again, we're talking about Sega. They're well known, but like, they had Sonic, they had some other hits. I don't know. Like, I've never been like Sega to me. Like, I feel like the nostalgia of it, but it's not like it's been like this huge. It's not like Nintendo came out and said we want nothing to do with Web3, or Sony is clearly like does want to do with Web3 in other areas. So I don't know. What's your thoughts?
Yeah, and that's a good point. I mean, Sega, it's not like exactly the biggest, gaming company in the world. I mean, it would be nice if they did come out in Web3, but and I do see that they're developing a super game that's slated for like 2026. And the CEO or whatever was asked about that as well, and he just mentioned that like Web3 isn't off the table, but at the same time, we're not necessarily looking to implement it at the same time as well. So it's almost like they're in the middle. They're just like very cautious because what they've seen in the Web3 gaming space currently is like he said, is just either really boring video games or too much focus on tokens and the cash part of it. When traditional gaming studios have always been about building a very fun game that is going to make them a lot of money. And I think that's the key there. And we're seeing that already in the space. We're starting to see the more fun games start to emerge. Like, for instance, Dr. Disrespect's Dead Drop game that has a snapshot released tomorrow, which I
Ayo.
expect to get a lot of attention. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's kind of my take on it, and how I think brands are starting to feel a little bit as well. I think brands initially were super excited, but they're starting to kind of like, like, hey, wait a minute here. Like, let's approach this space a little bit slower than usual. Is what the vibe I get just from the market sentiment rather.
Yeah, I think that's what they're doing is they're reading the outlook of the market and they're saying right now this isn't for us. So like I don't want to be like too negative on this because they didn't say they're never going to use blockchain. They're never going to use Web3. They actually I don't know the exact quote, but the summary I was reading of it was saying that they're not slamming the door shut entirely. I think here it is. Let's see what this says. For the majority of people in the video game industry, what blockchain advocates say may sound a bit extreme, but that's how the first penguin has always been. What? But
Yeah,
that's
that
what
guy's
the guy from Sega said though. So like he's essentially saying like there could be something to this. We're just backing up. And I do want to say like the highlights of the interview: withholding major franchises from third-party blockchain projects, halting development of in-house blockchain games. External parties will still be able to use its lesser-known franchises for NFT projects. That's interesting. No commitment towards use of Web3 tech in its 2026 Super Game Initiative, a lineup of high-budget online multiplayer games.
Yeah, yeah. So I watched the video of him like talking get under the interview. So it just sounds like they haven't made a full decision just yet, which is fair, And I do think they're looking at the wider Web3 gaming market and just seeing like what works in terms of the models. There's a lot of people and a lot of founders trying to put forth their own model of what a perfect Web3 game looks like to them. And we're seeing a lot of founders that will probably fail, and a lot of these games will fail. But I think what's going to emerge is these gaming ecosystems, like the IMXs, the Polygons, the Avalanches, and possibly even Oasis, which is another gaming kind of focused blockchain. So I think we'll see a lot of those big ecosystems emerge, because again, it'll only take one hit game to really send it, like Axie Infinity did. But an actual Web3 game that works really well and is super fun, I think that's going to be like what a lot of these actual like traditional studios are looking for. And then they'll just kind of recreate it, but with their own IP and their own game, and kind of just take over the space in terms of their games.
Well, and this isn't a blockchain game, but we kind of saw this happen very quickly, and the possibilities for it with Up Only. Like the game. I don't know if they had an official partnership with Goblin Town or just made by the same like creators or whatever. I actually, but I know there's a link there because like essentially an up only, you're like escaping Goblin Town. I've never played it, but it went huge. I mean, you had Nick Merckx, Tim the Tat Man. You had some of the biggest YouTubers. I forgot. There's one guy that literally has a partnership with YouTube that was streaming it. Like not YouTube partner. Like he actually gets paid by YouTube to make content like separately than the YouTube partnership. But regardless, the game blew up. Everybody loved it. And my thoughts on that is it's not Web3, but what would stop the game from, a month from now, if they were Web3, to say, hey, if you completed the game in this amount of time, or if you completed the game period, we want to give you something. But in order to receive it, you need to create X, Y, or Z. You need to create something, or you need to use, whatever. And then boom, you have a digital collectible now. It's kind of like Reddit, where it's like, oh, I have this thing. Maybe you hate it. That's fine. Maybe it's worth something, maybe it's not, but you have it now. And I could definitely see people that like have always been against NFTs being like, hey, this is kind of cool. Especially if like whatever they give you is kind of cool. And maybe that thing holds future utility in the game or in the next game. Maybe it's like similar to like a skin or whatever, or like, something a wearable, kind of like the Bored Apes did with the test that you did. So like I could totally see pushing adoption that way. Now that doesn't mean all these people are going to go buy PFP projects, but it would just kind of show them that, hey, owning a digital collectible is kind of cool. And I think there is, speaking of Veve at the beginning, I think there's a huge bull case for digital collectibles and NFTs. I mean, that's essentially what they are. But like, there's a lot of angles of NFTs, but I think digital collectibles is something that people don't need to sleep on because people treasure their collectibles, and I see that being valuable.
Yeah, and that's exactly what we're seeing too. Even if you look at CS:GO, they have skins and cosmetics worth, six figures and things like that. And it's kind of like frowned upon. It seems like because I've seen CS:GO and Steam ban. They actually banned people's accounts because they were using gambling sites to like gamble their skins or something like that. And so it does introduce like, hey, Web3 actually really does, like, and all jokes aside, does fix this issue, because the gamer would still own the assets even if their account was banned, and they could still have that valuable asset in their vault or whatever in their account, and they could sell it, on a marketplace. And I think that's like the improved model there. And you look at CS:GO, it's been around for like 10 years, and you described basically exactly what that successful model looks like. It may those skins and like things and collectibles may not be valuable at first, but 10 years later, those could be very valuable. And people that are, whether it's either, in a game, people obviously love Veve and the collectibles there, or it could be a different platform like, what we see with Cryptoys and what they could release as well. So it's not limited to like one platform. There could be value based on a lot of platforms that we could see out there. And you're talking about multiple games like as well. So think of it like Master Chief, in Halo and the skins there, what they could do, what CS:GO is already doing, but could implement Web3. And I think to me, that makes the most sense where games will go. And we're already seeing Dr. Disrespect already, have this vision. He's already implementing Web3 into his game like that. And I think that will be successful.
Yeah, he gets it. I remember him tweeting something like 6 months ago, like basically responding to the people hating on NFTs. Like he was essentially like, this is the same thing, that you experience in CS:GO, except for the fact you actually have full ownership over that item. So like he gets it, and he's a big influence in the gaming industry. So I definitely think that some people would respect his opinion on that. Now they might think because he has his own project or he's affiliated with a project, he might just be doing it for that. But regardless, I think it's pretty good to have somebody of that caliber and that respect, in the industry. But
Yeah, absolutely. And speaking of Cryptoys, I just wanted to mention that they actually, the founder, Will, he actually mentioned in a space just the other day that they have like a patented pending Guardian feature that would allow essentially miners to also use the app in a safe way. And it was like he was describing it as it was so good that they just had to go ahead and patent it. And so it's like basically pending. Like it went through, they published it,
wow,
it's pending.
that's
And
huge.
yeah, so which is very exciting, apps that, are going to be able to penetrate mainstream. I think early on, like I did Cryptoys video a long, long time ago, just because I did see a lot of potential for them to have wide adoption just because their collectibles are super cute. Like I'm like, I
Yeah.
could actually see, like, hearing Will's story, how his daughter helped create the app in the first place, really touched my heart as a dad. And which is why I wanted to bring him onto my channel and, interview him, of course. But
We need to bring him on to DJ and Dad's podcast.
absolutely. I think they would be down for that. But just the appeal like it would have for the younger demographics, I could be proud of showing my daughter this collectible and opening those packs with her. And those are like those experiences that you just don't take for granted. It's like $40 for like one of the memorable moments with my daughter that she'll
Yeah.
remember for the rest of her life. And I could even just give that NFT, that collectible to her, and when she's older. And so those are the things that I look at as a parent and that I get excited about, just the full experience of what they bring in that platform. And he mentioned new IP, it sounded like. So it sounds like they do have a lot of IP and brands hitting them up. And he was saying that they actually had to decline some brands because how many inquiries they were getting, and they had to prioritize the brands and IP of their next like launches and things like that. So it's exciting, like, to see the space as a whole grow. And again, we always say it is like it'll be to me like streaming where there's multiple streaming apps, and it's not just one streaming app to dominate them all. It's like, no, it's just going to be like, what's your favorite streaming app? Like, what do you watch? You might even have multiple subscriptions to a lot of the different streaming apps, and I could see that playing out in the NFT space long run.
Yeah, absolutely, dude. I love the strides that Cryptoys is making. I'm just really excited to see like what they're building and what they're coming out with. Ever since that Star Wars drop, that was the first real drop that I participated in with Cryptoys. I was like, this is really cool. You could either leave it in the package or you can take it out. And then to see the future gamification as we discussed last week on your channel, it is really cool. So I'm excited to see what they're building out. And definitely we need to get Will on this podcast. I did want to talk about this something a little bit more macro. Then we'll get back into the NFT market. The Twitter killer, Kyle. Instagram came out with Threads last week. This isn't like breaking news. This happened maybe like Friday or something. And then beta testers obviously got a little bit early, but essentially it's Twitter 2.0. It's very, very similar to Twitter, but it's linked to your Instagram now. Elon's not happy about it. He's calling Mark names that I can't even say on here. We're going to get demonetized. He's already filed a lawsuit against Zuck. And this all goes around their cage match that they're supposed to have. I don't know, man. What's your opinion so far on Threads and just the whole Elon and Zuck rivalry?
Yeah, I mean, it obviously, like, it didn't help that Zuckerberg came back after like 10 years of not using Twitter and just like randomly appeared and was like, he did a meme, which was the Spider-Mans pointing at each other. And I'm like, okay, like at first it was just kind of like, okay, yeah, it kind of looks like Twitter. And then now, like, he posted that, and now I feel like tensions are like going to skyrocket, and he's instigating the whole issue and the whole thing right now. So to me, this is definitely a big showdown between two of the largest tech entrepreneurs of all time. I'm excited for the fight. They're both training. I've seen the pictures, of them training, doing jujitsu. Elon was with George St. Pierre as well. So, I don't necessarily have too many opinions yet on Threads. I think it's too young, too early to say. And this lawsuit that might happen, or it sounds like it's going to happen. We don't know what the future technically is yet, and it could cause some turmoil there. But in the meantime, as a content creator, you obviously should be taking these new platforms serious, even if they do, like, maybe they might not exist in 5 years. But at the same time, if they do, and you are building a substantial following, that could mean the difference between a successful career and not. And I learned the hard lesson with Facebook early on, with Facebook ads specifically, is they were literal pennies on the dollar. And I could have advertised for like $5 per day and built like a 6 or 7 figure business easy on Facebook. But, I was still like, too young to really realize the opportunity, and really slept on it and didn't think ads would get like expensive like they are now. Now the ads are really expensive because there's so many, advertisers on their platform competing for the same advertising space.
Yeah, dude, that's so good. And unfortunately, this was actually breaking news today. Because this isn't growing. I'm pulling up on my phone. This isn't growing at a slow pace. Threads is now the fastest adopted consumer product in history. I think it passed 100 million downloads today. So unfortunately, you're right. Like taking advantage of a new platform, like that's really setting yourself up for like, for success essentially. But this is skyrocketing so fast that it is going to be diluted quickly. I've been grinding out, dude. Like I've been
I
posting.
seen you.
Yeah, because I don't have a large following on Instagram at all, just because I never used Instagram, and I started to use Instagram literally like 2 weeks ago. I was like, you know what? I want to see if I can like make some reels do better on Instagram and kind of start growing my audience on there. But besides that, I've never really used Instagram. So when I downloaded Threads, you know how it gives you the option to follow all, and some people get a lot of follow backs off of that. I even clicked that because I was like, I don't really use it this much, and I don't really even talk to a lot of people I know on Instagram anymore. So like, I'm just gonna start from scratch. So I built from 0 followers as of today. By the end of the day, I think I'm at like 750 right now. I'll probably be at 800 by the end of the day. I plan to get 1K in the before the first week of Threads, which is like not that hard on Threads because the algos are like cracked. Essentially, like instead of it like recommending like a For You page, it recommends like based on like comments of you engaging. So you kind of get in these cycles of like, well, if you just like engage with other people's content, then their friends will see your content. But it's not really a For You. It's kind of like based off of your engagement, and you're more than likely to get into the algos quicker and to kind of find people in your niche more. And so like the follows are and the exposure is really easy. Now with that being said, I still don't know what angle I want to take it, because like Twitter is like my like Web3 community. And then like YouTube is like, is NFTs, of course. So I've always viewed Instagram to be a little bit more macro, like kind of like content like this that we're talking about. What about Threads? What is Threads? Or talking about the Mark and Zuck and stuff like that. So like I still don't know if I want to keep it more macro content related. Marketing, we talk about marketing a lot. AI, we talk about AI a lot on this. Kind of like our podcast. Like it's
I
very
was gonna say you just take that podcast angle,
yeah.
baby.
Yeah, I mean,
Tech podcast.
Our podcast is Web3 focused, but we hit a lot of macro topics. So I'm thinking the same thing with Threads. Like I don't want it to be a copy and paste of the same experience I have on Twitter. I want it to be a different experience. So I'm trying to figure that out.
Yeah. So for me too, like just for like the audience and viewers or listeners too, is just, if you're looking at Threads too like what I look at it for me personally is like I wasn't huge on Instagram. My wife is, she loves Instagram, but how I'm looking at it is, hey, like if you're really good at Twitter, you can probably be really good at Threads. And you'll also have a bonus benefit of if you're growing on Threads, you have a direct link on your thread bio to your Instagram account. And it's not like it's going to like take away from your Threads. It literally is helping you grow another social media app, Instagram, by growing your Threads. So it's like a double combo win. So now I'm more incentivized to use Instagram now, where I was kind of doing shorts here and there, or reels, or whatever they're called, shorts, reels, whatever,
Yeah.
on Instagram. But now I am actually even more incentivized to put those videos out, because I know now I'm really good at Twitter. Like I'm not like the best ever, but I do have a decent following. And like you said, Chris, Threads algo's kind of cracked right now, which means you can grow super quickly. So now, like, I'm looking at this as a good strategy to actually grow my Instagram account long run. And even if my Instagram lags behind my Threads account, long run, I'm still going to win because it's always going to link back to Instagram.
Dude, I 100% agree. And I even think that Threads should do an extra incentive to follow on Instagram. I don't know what that looks like. So like you said, like there is a redirect. Like if you go to somebody's profile and you go to the top right, there's like a big Instagram logo. You click that and it redirects. And then you could always, how people used to screenshot their tweets and post it on Instagram. Zuck said no more of that. You can literally click a button and your thread is now either a post or it's like on your story. I thought that was really funny. So people aren't going to be screenshotting your tweets as much anymore. But that said, I have 800 followers on Threads now. Most of them, and like the conversion rate from Threads to Instagram right now is just terrible. I might have got like 8 new followers, out of 800. So maybe 1 out of 100 actually goes and does that. So I think Threads should somehow redirect, like make your incentive a little bit larger to go back to Instagram. That way people are kind of stuck in a loop of like jumping back and forth from Instagram to threads.
I think that's their game. I honestly think that's what their game's going to be, because they know that they have Instagram as like that is one of the best apps of all time, especially like for people that are picture oriented, lifestyle type of people. Now they have threads to like, now they're going to bring over the people that already use Twitter and like Reddit and all those platforms. And they're going to bring over like, not to say they're more like there's, it's just a different brain, right? That uses Twitter and like these, like you text based apps.
Mm-hmm.
And now they have like, oh, if I'm not on Twitter or if I'm not on Threads, I'm on Instagram. And if I'm not on Instagram, I'm on Threads. It's just a back and forth, like do.
Yeah, exactly. And dude, I'm not gonna lie, like pictures and videos look so much better on Threads than they do Twitter. Like that's just how it is. One, it shows the whole picture. I don't know. I know you've probably experienced this, but like on Twitter, if I like screenshot something and go to post it, I want people to like see what I want them to see without like having to click on it. But that's hard to do sometimes. Like you have to like crop it just right so the whole thing shows. And that's really freaking annoying to do every time. Whereas Threads, you just post anything and it shows the whole picture on the timeline. So that's pretty cool. You can't save pictures directly off of Threads. That's interesting. Kind of like Instagram. Like how like it's not like you can go to somebody's picture and save it. Yeah, it just definitely the pictures and videos like look a lot cleaner.
Yeah, I like the pictures and videos too. Like you said, it's just like you get the full visual and you have to like click through to look at it. It just makes for a more seamless experience, I feel like, in terms of the actual content. Now I do expect Twitter to like catch up in that department, but it is like kind of like you upload a video and there's like a lot of like loss in terms of quality and it looks like fuzzy and blurry, and that can take away from the viewer's experience or the listener's experience, like looking at that and you're like, it looks fuzzy, I'll just keep scrolling. But if it looks like visually pleasing, then you're more likely to stay.
Yep, completely agree. There was one more thing I wanted to say about Threads. I'm trying to think of what it was. It's like leaving me right now. Oh well, I can circle back to it. You did mention earlier when talking about the Elon and Zuck fight. Just in general, talking about the fight. This was news like today. Yeah, July 10th. UFC and Concept Labs forge multi-year deal for digital collectibles game. So that's interesting. And I'll go ahead and read the details. The partnership includes matchmaker sweepstakes, offering fans a chance to meet with UFC president Dana White. Concept Labs plans to launch a mobile first game, UFC Strike Fight Camp, utilizing the UFC Strike digital collectibles. And then UFC Strike Champions Club offers exclusive fan experience to expand further. So the UFC is also taking steps into Web3, going the opposite direction of Sega.
Yeah, it's not too big of a surprise for me. Like the UFC, I believe they even had like at one point like the moments of UFC, like it was like UFC.
Yeah, that's right.
And so to me, this is like their next step, like gaming. I think gaming, obviously, like it's already beating movies and music in terms of the entertainment sector. So I think we'll see a continued growth in Web3 games long term. However, like obviously, it's going to take time for like the big hitters to really pop off and see a lot there. But I do think long term we'll be fine here in Web3 game land.
Yeah, I think so too, man. I do remember what I was going to say. I'm trying to pull something up too. I do remember what I was going to say about Threads is the first few days that Threads came out, I made a video on it and I posted it to Twitter as well. And I actually got my Twitter account locked for posting that video.
Oh
So,
yeah, the censorship stuff going on.
Yeah, so I was literally locked out of Twitter for posting about Threads. That was fun. And my business is on Twitter, so kind of sucked. But with all that being said, another huge topic today, it's something I'm actually going to pull up, is the NFT market really bounced back today. Like we see not just today, but like within the last like week, across the board, we see some NFT projects just like flying right now. Compared to like last week, basically being a bottom. I'm about to pull it up though. But another thing that we see that I'm also about to pull up on the screen, one of the trending projects right now with 180 Ethereum volume and a 0.07 floor price is Fat Zuki, which is hilarious. If you don't know what this is literally Azuki, but they made him fat. Yeah, and I'm trying to find the actual images of it. They look good, dude. Here, I'll share it, so you guys can see. So,
Oh yeah.
yeah,
Hey, hey.
yeah, man. Somebody
Hey, you
said,
gotta has that. You gotta have. I mean, you gotta make it real. I mean, you know what I mean.
bro, they look good.
That,
It's like, you know how these
look at
derivatives,
the
like,
yellow one. Oh,
you
my
know how
buddy
these.
has a yellow one like that.
I love that. Yeah, these derivatives usually look like trash, but it looks like they actually got like some type of artist to like expand the Azukis. Um,
Yeah.
it's pretty funny, man. Uh, so they're
Yeah,
actually
they
not
gotta.
revealed right now.
Yeah, that's awesome. Oh.
I heard somebody say earlier that if you FUD, that you're fat shaming.
Yeah, exactly. Well, exactly. Like, hey, man, everybody needs love and representation. So that's I don't mind this at all. I mean, maybe Azuki might have a problem with it, but hey, that's cool.
Uh, Shoot, if anything, it just points people back to Azuki. I think Azuki holders
Yeah,
got like a free mint, and everybody else had a mint for like 0.01. So I don't know. That's just pretty funny, but it's been zipping, man. So from 0.01 to a 0.07 floor price, and I think it touched like even like a little bit higher than that today.
I love the caption there, "Ready to eat," because it's like that's what a lot of people like. We eating out here, you know. So they put a little
Yeah.
spin on that. So which makes me hungry. I'm like hungry right now, man. That makes me hungry just thinking about that. That
it
caption just made me hungry.
it is around that time. And then I also wanted to show just the NFT market right now. You look at that 7-day change. Like it's pretty insane, man. I'll read some of the bigger ones. So Terraforms is up 61%, which is that's 45% a day. So maybe that's not the best example. We have the dude as last week. Oh no, this is different. Never mind. I did call Beans last week at 0.3 on our podcast, and now they're at 0.45. And then I talked about it afterwards. It's like, hey guys, I told you Beans at 0.33 was a steal. And then people were like, bro, you didn't call bottom. It's gonna get lower. Like, yeah, no, like of course it's gonna get lower, but like that would have been such an easy flip. Um, Ether is getting flooded like to the ground. So despite all these being green, Ether capsules are still down. We can talk about that in a bit. Azuki's up 20%. Bored Ape Yacht Club 15%. Azuki Elementals 42%. So the NFT market bounced back pretty nice.
Yeah, yeah. It's hopefully it sustains, you know, and maybe a lot of people are sensing it could be like we could be like, or we're like a week or so ago or a few days ago, like it was kind of like bottom, like the bear bottom, like. So I think maybe people are speculating like we could be bottomed out, like in the only direction things can really go at this point is up. Now I do see a couple of bears out there still that saying like we could still dip even more, but time will tell. Like even in the macro, I'm paying attention to crypto as well and seeing kind of the same sentiment is like everybody saying like we could be at the point where things could start turning around slowly, especially as Bitcoin gets closer to the halving and we are seeing Bitcoin ETFs that could
Yeah.
be approved at end of year. So again, these are some of the things I'm monitoring. So we could actually be, I think the NFT people are also in crypto and paying attention to that closely as well. And monitoring the NFT prices. And, you know, you see things like Blur that have kind of sent things to zero and, well, not literal zero, but, you know, have really made the market dip. So I think all these like when you factor it all in, it seems like these like prices were kind of pre-baked. You know, people were selling their NFTs off in a pre-baked mindset. But at this point, I feel like moving forward, we're entering into territory where, you know, you might not want to be selling your NFTs at the bare bottom.
Yeah, absolutely. And we've talked about this before, but most of my NFTs I own right now, I'm not really in for the short term flips, anyways. I wanted to add to just the bullish case for just like crypto right now. Here, let me switch back to this. We have some updates from Watcher Guru. Pretty good Twitter profile to follow. One of my favorite, like just in and breaking profiles. Former SEC chairman says spot Bitcoin ETF should be approved. That's just like, you know, not that like is substantial, but that's just like it's good to see some people fighting for it. I responded to this one actually, but just in $820 billion standard. I can't speak. Chartered Bank predicts Bitcoin will reach 120,000 by the end of 2024. You know, that's obviously just a prediction, but the fact that these like this big money companies have been saying this, you know, it's
Yeah.
kind of, when the little man says that it doesn't really matter because it's not like they can actually move it. But when you got $820 billion and you're saying that, and you have BlackRock, filing for ETFs and a couple other things like that, like those people actually can move the market. So
Mhm.
that's a bull case for it. So
In ARK, Kathy Woods, I think is saying that Bitcoin could reach $1 million, and I think was it by the end of or by like 2030 or ish in that area or something like that, which is asinine. Like even for me, like I've always been pro crypto, pro Bitcoin, and like super excited about this space. But man, that's like that's
yeah,
like I don't know, that's an insane amount. Now she's factoring in a lot of different factors like market capitalization, total market cap for the entire crypto space. So I think she's accounting for all the Bitcoin ETFs being passed and those being implemented into your traditional finance vehicles, and things like that. You're talking about like the traditional 401k type of bags where people can kind of dip into. So maybe that's what she's looking at in terms of the macro and how it will be implemented into like the traditional finance vehicles, if you will.
sure. And I do still see bears on my timeline that I do like. They have a lot of credibility. Like they've done good with a lot of like technical analysis and looking at the macro and everything like that. That are still saying we'll see 13K Bitcoin before the end of the year. Do you think
Yeah.
that's a possibility?
No, I don't think so at this point. I think maybe we'll hit more psychological levels, like a clean 15, clean 20K, if we are going to go to like back to a dip. I don't think we'll get to the point though where things are so bearish that it goes to 13, because the point that everything was at a max bear level, it didn't hit off 13. I think it was like closer to 15. So I think it set a new precedence in terms of that level of like 15 or above, or even 20, and maybe even just 25K, which we've already seen. So,
Yeah.
I, you know, I have said, I think in it was Paul Barron's podcast, I think maybe we'll see one more dip before it, like we kind of not full send, but things start transitioning and reversing the other direction. But that's kind of my take on it. Again, like I am cautious during this time because with BlackRock, with such positive news, there is speculation that it could be like trying to dump on people
Yeah.
in terms of that. So we could see a short term pullback, but I don't expect like a you know, full blown correction.
We talked about this last week, but I do find it interesting that like the US is all but banned crypto, just like with their sentiment towards it, towards claiming everything's a security except for Bitcoin and maybe Ethereum, with the Gary Gensler stuff. Yet Bitcoin is still over 30K. Like that, and then Ethereum is still over 1.8K. So it's kind of crazy. I'm not gonna say this is like the worst it can get because we obviously saw like the FTX situation, and even in the last few months we saw like kind of like the Binance stuff and the Coinbase and all that. So I guess we'll just see how it all goes, and obviously like how macro is looking because that's going to affect everything. But I can't believe we're even at a 30K and 1.8K, like the way that everything's been, like the pressure that's been in the US. But here we are.
Yeah, it's been pretty resilient to say the least. So it's Ethereum, Bitcoin definitely doing the job that they kind of were created. Ultrasound money in Ethereum, and then Bitcoin, of course, the king of crypto.
Ayo. Let's pull up another topic. I lost my list again. All right, let's get this going. So we have a couple of things that you added. Let me. I'm just gonna pick my favorite, Kyle, because you added a lot here. Let's talk about this Tom Brady autographs, autograph layoffs. What is that?
Yeah, so obviously this is a result of probably the NFT space as a whole just being really down. And I think these like platforms are more the like traditional, like it feels like Web 2, but they're implementing Web 3 tech into their tech stack. Like Autograph has. I think like they have struggled to like have success in this industry in the bear market because maybe they haven't had the right strategies in place, or their audience isn't large enough to facilitate during this time. So I think they had to do these layoffs to move forward, if you will, and to
Mm,
continue. So it's very expensive to have. I think it was like 50 layoffs, so it was quite a few layoffs. I mean, quite a bit. And that's a very expensive. 50 employees times whatever their salaries were, that could be millions of dollars depending on their salaries per year. So Autograph's probably sitting here trying to save money and continue the operation. So Not too big of a surprise, considering we are in the bear market, but it is a health check of the wider space. And you even saw Palm, integrate with Candy, and maybe that was kind of their strategy and thinking as well, in this kind of space and
Yeah,
environment.
yeah, that completely makes sense. Yeah, the Palm and Candy thing. That was that a week ago or 2 weeks ago?
Yeah,
But
yeah, something like that. Yeah.
kind of joining forces to become one stronger entity. I saw that you posted about a Sandbox teaming up with Warner Music to bring an AR audio visual experience. I don't have the sound on right now, but you just want to like walk us through this?
Yeah, so this is obviously pretty exciting. Again, Warner working with a big Web3 company, as in Sandbox, which is like pretty much one of the best decentralized like metaverses in the space, and the most notable with the biggest brands and IP celebrities in the metaverse. And they're, it's really like a game too. Like it's not just a metaverse. It's like there's a lot of mini games happening here, but you're seeing on the screen AR capabilities here that Warner and Sandbox have teamed up to bring you, so you can now broadcast this like cool
Yeah, dude.
audio visual experience like a DJ. And again, these NFTs are typically minted on layer one Ethereum. So that means that there's a high probability that these are going to be self custodied, which I mean, all of Sandbox NFTs already are. So what I'm trying to say is this is pretty exciting improvement in the Web3 space. So yeah, pretty cool things. You can see that rocking out right there. It's meant to be fun, like that Roblox type of feel or
Yeah.
vibe, or Minecraft, if you will. So and I even seen Roblox. Roblox keep popping up in the news everywhere. I see them in Web3. They're just at the Vayner like Web3 like conference thing. I don't know. I saw it on LinkedIn. They were there, so it'd be interesting to see like these humongous gaming conglomerates like come into the space and see what they do long term as well.
Yeah, for sure. That's a really cool experience. Just the whole thing that we just watched and like kind of having that virtual concert. Not virtual is the AR, so it kind of virtual. We definitely still need, and we've actually had a podcast on this as well. But I feel like to make this just more better, like we're still gonna need better like headsets, like better virtual reality headsets, because right now they're just too bulky, and I'm not sure the level of interest of people just kind of. I mean, you had Pokemon Go, but I'm gonna be honest with you. Like, I turned Pokemon Go's AR features off like the first week I played, just because like it was more of like like I just wanted to get into the game. Like it was more of a distraction. It was cool and all, but I kind of just didn't use it. So for me personally, I don't know if I'd use this on my phone, but if I had like something comfortable to wear and like knew that there's like an event going on and I had to show up at this location and they were gonna put on a virtual concert, I would definitely do that.
Yeah, for me too. Like as long as it's glasses, I don't mind a battery pack. Even like if I can put the battery pack in my pocket, there's a wire going up. I don't necessarily mind that either if the experience is fun. So the experience I think has to outweigh what you're actually wearing on your your head or your body. But I agree with you. Like I have to feel immersed in where it's easy. So if I have those glasses on, that's going to be obviously immersive, and putting your finger out there, and it has like all that technology that can like follow your finger tracking, kind of like what we're seeing with Meta and Apple and their products, but like on a smaller form factor. I think that's definitely gonna kind of like full send like all these like people that are integrating AR. And I think at that point it's just like a race to see who can have the best games and metaverse experiences out there that are obviously going to include gaming and all kinds of fun stuff in the quote unquote AR cloud or AR metaverse, and
Yeah,
integrate that into your games and VR and blah 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 blah.
absolutely. We
And
are.
AI, listen, AI is going to fast track that all.
It
Like it already
is.
is.
You want to talk about that?
Yeah, so like there's a platform called Runway AI. They raised like 100 and something million, like an obscene amount of cash from Nvidia and Google, I think, or some other like two big, really big tech companies. And all you have to do is type in a prompt, and it'll create like a short movie. At least that's what the vision they're working on. You can actually sign up for a free account and like mess around. And it's kind of like low level stuff now, but the trajectory where it's going could be absolutely revolutionary. And then you're seeing apps like that. Like imagine game developing apps like Unity is implementing AI. They announced that. Their stock went up from that announcement.
Yeah.
But again, we're seeing AI just really compound very, very quickly, and it's not like a snail pace. It's happening all pretty quickly. So
Yeah, I have something I'm actually going to pull up here that I wanted to discuss on the AI topic. It's pretty crazy, man. So AI, of course, has been like making huge strides, and one of those right now is ChatGBT is coming up with an update. It's going to be for the paid version, but it's going to have a code interpreter that will allow you to analyze your files with browsers using ChatGPT. So specifically, it's going to let you analyze data, create charts, edit files, perform math, etc. But this is crazy, dude. Somebody literally said, create a QR code for openai.com and show it to me. And it created the QR code. Like, bro, that's insane, man. Like, imagine if we get like a djdads.com and we're like, yo, can you make this into a QR code? And then boom, from then on out, if we want, if we're like, wanted people to like go to our website, they could just scan the QR code and then they're there. Same thing with my like coffee business. Like, it's crazy. That's so, like I don't know. That kind
yeah.
of blew me away.
Yeah, it's really cool. The use cases there are pretty unlimited. I even seen before they announced that, I saw that Etherscan implemented a code checker in their platform as well. They just implemented, I guess, like smart contracts, and you could like go in and ask, their like custom chat GPT, which is probably just open AI. And you can scan the smart contracts and things like this. But this get like improves upon that model and was going to definitely help developers. Also being in ChatGPT are going to bring the ability to literally scan your photos. Like you can actually do this now. Most users, I don't know if all the
Oh yeah,
users
yeah, I saw that. Yeah.
out there, but you can upload an image of like, let's say an NFT, and it'll describe your image. So like if you just screenshotted me and uploaded it to Bing Chat, which is their AI, which is obviously open AI as well, but it'll actually tell you to like almost to a T, like what the picture is about, which is crazy.
Yeah.
Because before you had to use like this like Google search or Google Pics to kind of like look that stuff up, and it'll kind of give you like a general thing. But this
Yeah.
is like on the fly AI telling you what it is like seconds later in full description. Like it's not like, hey, we think this is what this is based on other images, what it might look like. No, this is the actual artificial intelligence telling you what the picture is. Like that's pretty crazy.
Yeah, I've been waiting for something like that to come out for a long time. I used to use the subreddit as something like "What is this?" or something like that, where essentially you just take a picture of something random and like somebody on the subreddit would like tell you what it is. And then our phones, like our iPhones, like last year, this is a fun fact if you didn't know it. You can actually take a picture of plants, and then there's like a little information button that has like sparkles by it, which is like an AI feature. And you click that, and it should show you which type of plants that you took a picture of. But what Kyle's talking about is it's getting a lot more advanced to where you can take a picture of virtually anything, and it will describe to you what you're looking at, which is something that's going to be very helpful. I've wanted to use 100 times, so that's super exciting. On this thread, talking about some of the biggest things happening in AI, I thought this was really cool. So similar to how you can generate like entire movies using prompts, you can now do it with video games. I'll show that on the screen real quick, kind of how that works. And also, so like they're working with like a couple of gaming studios to do this. And if you wanted to right now, you could go to Moonlander AI and sign up for early access, which I'll probably do after this podcast, just so I can actually show you guys in real time when it drops, like kind of how it is. So this is how it looks. I'll kind of describe it for those that are listening in instead of watching. I mean, I don't know what the prompt was for this, but I guess essentially, okay, here it is. So there's like a guy walking through the snow, and then they got a prompt. As they're still just kind of, oh, there's
The
Veve, bro.
DeLorean.
Veve made an
the
appearance.
Yo, the flying DeLorean.
Whoa, we just discovered something.
That is dope, actually. The game changer. I love that.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. So we just watched a little clip of it. It didn't really show the prompts for it, but it just showed like a little clip of the game with a random DeLorean in it. That's pretty funny. I guess this is Veve's partnership, Moonlander AI, we didn't know about.
Yeah, that goes back to showing you like AI is literally like like this is gonna be, it is a revolution. Like it is literally the iPhone moment, as Jensen Huang said of Nvidia, like what's happening right now. And again, like when we go back to games, metaverse, like this is stuff that's all converging upon each other. You know, you have AR experiences, metaverse, you know, AR, VR games, and you put NFTs and all of it. Like all this technology is gonna just commingle. You know, is what I see is how I envision it. But crazy, man, and that's lowering the barrier to entry to game development. And you know, people are like, they're commenting like on my stream with Danny, like saying games are risky. Well, if you look at something like that, games are going to get way less risky to develop.
Yeah. Yeah, man. I mean, AI is the future. What can we say? I think that's a good way to wrap up the podcast. Always got to plug some AI in there just because like the developments are just getting pretty crazy, and they're going to affect all of us. So it's important to it's important to stay up to date on this. You have any last words before we conclude the podcast?
Man, yeah, like AI is literally going to change that subscribe button. So if you like those topics and you don't want to get turned into an AI in Black Mirror, you have to subscribe so you can be sure that you're following me and Chris as human beings, you know. So I don't know, that was a terrible segue.
No, I love
But if
it.
you
I
like the
love it.
content, like the video, and that's all I got.
Hit the subscribe button, like the video. We're going to be on Kyle's channel next week. We're also working on getting this podcast out on all streaming platforms. I'm going to put the Twitter. We're going to be available audio only on some others. That's why we describe things in detail on this. Thank you guys so much. If you've made it this far, you are amazing. Actually, if you did make it this far, let us know you made it this far by commenting down below, just to kind of see who all is watching the video in entirety. Thank you guys so much, and we will see you next time.